I'm like, no, I don't want to go there. It's going to be good, but it's a lot. I'm going to say some things to you today that's going to be good. It's not going to be good because I'm good. It's going to be good because the word is that good. It's that succinct. It's that poignant. And there's going to be some things you hear today that you need to share with some of your friends and family members. I want you to send it to them. It's on the YouTube channel. Don't go to my website now. I'm updating it, so it's in the weird transition, but it will be uploaded hopefully tonight in the YouTube channel. All right, so help me out with that word. Akademat. So my daughter is trying to teach me how to say the blessing in Hebrew because it sounds so sweet, but I can't get it right in English. Now that I heard it in Hebrew, it's like, oh, it's so nice, it's so powerful in Hebrew, but Yahweh bless you and keep you just doesn't do it for me no more. I'm like, I got to get the Hebrew of it. So when my 8 years old having to teach me, y'all have to pray for me, please. I really am hungry for that, and I will get there. I want to look at 3 chapters today and pull out 4 points that, this was so good for me. This was so good for me. I'm like, this is good for me alone. And I'm hoping that you start to get at least half of what I got. My questions today, what is a conduit? Confession. What is it good for? Want to be clean. You want to be clean, something's got to get dirty. Don't copy Canaan. Those are my 4 points, and then we'll go home. Hopefully you'll take something, at least 1 point. I'm going to do my best to make sure you take at least 1 point. I'm going to try to impress it upon you. If you get bothered emotionally at some point, it's intentional. I'm trying to make you feel it the way he's made me feel it. I'm going to start with the question is, well, first I'll start with this. Yahweh is trying to do something amazing in your life further than you can imagine. He's trying to do something so amazing and great in your life, way past what you can imagine. I'm going to keep saying it because we downplay ourselves over and over again. We give Yahweh all the excuses why we can't, and He's telling us why. No, I know who you are and what you got. He's trying to do some great work in you. You can't tell me you can't. For everything you tell me why you can't, I can show you somebody who says, well, what about Paul? Well, what about David? He went through his. You can't tell me any reason why you can't. My job today, and my job has been in my spirit, is to help you unleash the maximum of that. I want you to get all of it. Any of my students, anybody who sits before me and teaching, I'm going for all. I want all 120% of what I'm supposed to get. I don't want to get to heaven and see my name on a door and open that door, find that stuff full of stuff that it was sitting up there waiting for me just because I didn't believe I could get it. Y'all got all my name on it. My name on this, I said, Mr. Peter, what's going on with all this stuff? You never asked for it, Brandon. You never believed you can really get that. You never believed you can really have that life because you said you came from this or that family. And I told you I had it. I got a warehouse stuff that had to sit up here and get moldy and dust on it because you just didn't ask. Now, that's not to say you can't make it to heaven. You couldn't be a great life, but I want all of what He has for me. Amen. He said I was going to be the head, not the tail. And I'm going for it. Amen. He says all this, I'm going for every single bit. And I don't want to get in the way of myself. Because sometimes it's not about Yahweh. We bring God and Satan in here in places where we probably shouldn't because we're getting our own way. You say, you messing that up. You're not even in the Word like you're supposed to. You're not even praying like you're supposed to. You're not even being open like you're supposed to. Now don't put me in that. That's you not doing some things. So I'm like, look, let me go all in. So I want to help unleash somebody today. And I want to help you break through some things today that you haven't been able to break through. And I want you to join me as I'm doing it too, because I have not arrived. But I'll start with this question. What's a conduit? I ain't got to my first slide. This is crazy. All right, so we go. What's the conduit? Do we know what it is? Something what?
Something through which things move.
Yes. That's what it is, brother. Go ahead and preach it.
I do that. I just didn't know how to express it.
Yeah. A person or organization that acts as a channel for the transmission of something. Acts as a channel for the transmission of something. Y'all see where I'm going with this? It acts as a channel or a transmission of something. My study today is going to call you to be a clean conduit for Yahweh. As I'm noticing, as I'm reading through the scriptures all throughout these 3 passages, maybe throughout the book of Leviticus, he's asking his people to be clean. Because I need to use you. It's not that I can't use you, but I need to use you to the maximum. If I blow a shofar and it's stuffed up and filled with stuff, it's not going to sound the same. People might hear something that's not really my voice. I need them to hear it clearly through you. I need you to let your little light shine bright. Like Joy getting those medals in her campus. I love it. Let your light shine bright. Like when we at our workplace, you let your light shine. Well, look, if you dipping and dabbling and stuff, and you kind of, you're not clean, I can't use you like I want to. Where am I getting this from? Leviticus 16. Aaron shall present the bull as a sin offering for himself, and he shall make atonement for himself and for his house. Did you know that before Aaron could be a conduit for his people, he needed himself to be clean? I didn't come up with this rule. This is a Yahweh rule. If you're trying to be in the transmission business of trying to allow Yahweh's blessings and power to flow through you as you pray for somebody else and put your hands on them as a blessing and do all this powerful thing, but you yourself know you ain't clean. He says, I told you the model how I set it up. This is not the only place he says it, but he keeps on. He says, then after he does this, then he shall kill the goat for the sin offering for the people, and bring its blood inside the veil and do with its blood as he did with the blood of the bull, sprinkling over the mercy seat in front of the mercy seat. Thus he shall make atonement for the holy place because the uncleanness of the people of Israel, of their transgressions, of their sins. There's some things you got to deal with in your own self. There's some fears that you need to overcome in your own self first. There are some habits and some habitual sins that need to be dealt with first. There's some things you need to watch in your own mouth. And you need to wash out and clean before you try to, he says, I need you to deal with you first, then we can go ahead and get with the rest of the house as you're trying to bless them.
Hey, but what if you were struggling with thoughts that you did in the past, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they still pop up, but they, you've already repented to Yahweh and asked for forgiveness. And what if those thoughts keep popping up? Are you still unclean of it? Or are you
Right. See, I love that question because we're not accused of having a thought, but what he does, how we handle that thought is really important. See, sometimes I used to feel guilty because I have a temptation or I have a desire. He said, that's cool. You fleshly, you human. But when I stop, the three things he says: take up your cross. Follow. Deny yourself. Take your cross. I love that he said that for me, Jeremy, because if he didn't say that, the fact that he said that, he says, I know you're going to have some stuff, Michael, that's not like me. Do you hear what he said? He says, deny that. It's when you stop denying it, it's a problem. We all going to have it. We all going to start feeling and thinking like, no, I need to say no to it. It's when I stop making it a captive now.
I can't remember where it said, but what's that one scripture that says,
Shabbat Shalom,
take all thoughts captive.
Right. I think it's Ephesians.
I can't remember where it is.
But I love it. It says you take them things, you wrap them up. Now you gonna get them. Don't guilt out like I did for so many years, thinking, man, I'm still struggling with this. I'm still got this thought. That's cool, but you need to make it captive. You need to figure out how we're gonna deal with that and not let Satan get you out on that. So that's cool. That's your testimony, and you can connect with those people a lot better for that reason.
And I think too that the enemy gets us to thinking I'm the only one going through this.
Yeah.
And the Bible says there has no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. We all deal with our stuff. Some people's stuff is more outward visible, but we all have that wicked heart that we're not careful that we have to cleanse every day.
That's good.
So don't let it get you down. We all deal with it.
That's good, yeah.
Well, instant, like fix, kind of sort of. I just got the 3 R's. As soon as you get it, you know it's not from you, you know it's not from God. I just say I rebuke it, renounce it, reject it. Anything from Satan or myself away, and then in Yeshua's name. And it's like that works.
Amen. I heard 2 R's. Renounce, reject.
Yeshua did. Get me behind me.
Okay. Rebuke, renounce, reject.
Yeah.
All right, love it. So there you go. I'm glad you said that because you helped somebody. Because we all be struggling with that stuff. Like, man, I thought I'm supposed to be a saint. I thought I'm supposed to be baptized. I'm trying to come, and I'm still got this. He's like, I need you to deal with that. Well, y'all, this is the first slide. Woo, goodness.
That scripture was 2 Corinthians 10:5.
All right, so then you shall do that. You got to do you first. Aaron and his sons. You remember Aaron had his sons. They had to get consecrated first before they were going to be a blessing for the people. You remember they had to wash themselves, anoint themselves with oil, laid their hands on the head. This is what they had to do. The conduits had to be clean first before they could be used. The vessels had to be clean first before they can be used. If you're in a place of leadership, like I'm sobered and humble to be, when I stand in front of you, it's so sobering, y'all, because he say, I'm trying to speak to you, and him and I know what's going on with me. He says, I need you to be clean. I can't use you like that. Here I am standing in front of hundreds of kids every day trying to be an example. And now they're asking me about this higher position of influence. And he says, I'm trying to use you. So anybody who's a parent, anybody who's listening to my voice right now, you are supposed to be a light, not under a table. He's talking to you. He says, look, I'm serious about the process of cleaning. And you can see that through the process. He don't just jump these guys and say, I picture you good. He says, I'm going to make you go through a process that cleans you. And sometimes it's not comfortable. Matter of fact, if you look at the details of their process, it's extremely messy, isn't it? I mean, it's extremely messy. It's not calculated. As a math person, I love things to be in boxes. This is a messy mess. It's like throwing 7 times on your finger. Like, how many millimeters was that? Like, no, just throw some like this way. I'm just like, this is a mess. I think they had to change the curtain every so now and then because it got so bloody and so messy. But it's just a big mess. But Yahweh says, no, that's what I need it to be like that. So it's not a pretty process. It's not comfortable, because this is really uncomfortable. Your nice robe, they had to sprinkle some blood, I believe, on this beautiful robe. I'm like, what you doing? This is nice. So in the end of here, he says, and you shall not go outside the entrance of the tent of meeting for 7 days until the days of your ordination are complete, for it will take 7 days. He's going to take 7 days to ordain you. It's going to take some time to ordain you. We're going to take every single one of these days. We ain't going to skip no days to ordain you. Are you getting, this is not my words, guys, but I'm listening to the mind of Yahweh who made this up. He says, this is how important it is to me. Before you get out there going, I need 7 days for I need to make sure you're clean. Now, that may not be the the literal number for anything right now, but it does point to a principle that first process is important before they have a blessing to all 1,000 of these people. Yahshua himself, what did he have to do before he started his ministry?
Get baptized.
Yeah, he went off.
I think even before they baptized.
He prayed.
Why when he started his ministry? First thing, what did the Spirit take him?
In the wilderness. That was after his baptism.
It was after the baptism? Okay. So I looked at that after some years of reading. I'm like, man, 30 years you waited. I'm ready to go. Let's go help people. Let's go save some people. I've been seeing people for all my life. I've been seeing Pharisees with their heavy hand on people, hurting them. I saw this lady over here who's limping in pain. I saw this guy. And you want to send me where for how long? We got work to do. Spirit said we got to go. If you're going to be that powerful of a person and you don't want to go through this transition, it's not going to work. I need 40 days. Even the Son of God. 40 days? So I'm trying to help us see that through the book we're reading right now, there are some points that you can pull out to say this is how important it is that if you're going to be a clean conduit for Yahweh, this process is necessary.
With that same point, imagine what it was like to be the Son of God. He showed at 12 years old that he knew more than the other guys. Okay, but he had to wait another 18 years for God's perfect time. And that's the hardest thing.
That's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing. That's the hardest thing. Give you all the power. Give you all the knowledge. I heard somebody describe meekness this way. It says if you're sitting down in the chair and you're letting some child hit you in the face or something. And you're not doing anything. Like you're literally having to restrict your own power. You're like, you know what I could do? If I just stood up, we'd be done. But I'm gonna sit here for 30 years, and it's not time yet. It's not time yet. I better move on. Right? Olivia said, can I stay? Because she wanted to see this picture again. So I was like, okay, you can stay to see this picture. So, y'all remember this story? Judge not, that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, you'll be measured to you. Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye, but you do not notice the log in your own eye? Or can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when there's a big log in your eye? You hypocrite. First. I like the order, right? He's all about the order. Whose words are these?
Jesus.
Same principle. Same principle. Doesn't matter. Leviticus, Matthew, it's the same principle. If you're going to be in the ministry of ministering and helping people, which all of us who listen to my voice, and hopefully that's why you stay here, you're in the business of saying, I'm trying to help people take the specs and logs and whatever. Well, make sure you get your logs taken out. Man, guys, it's such a good point. Do you know what your logs are? Okay, I know we quit because we're sitting here and we're saying, I'm good, I've already been through that, that's other people. But I need you to take a serious assessment and maybe jot down a note that you need to meditate and think about what are some laws that I need to really meditate on here. And if there's some specs, get those out too. But first, I love the order first. Take the log out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Then you'll see clearly. And I like the fact that it doesn't tell us not to judge. It doesn't tell us that you can't do that. It just tells us how. First, take care of your issues. Don't be coming up to this brother. You know that that's your issue. Well, sister, you got a problem with gospel. I just want to, hold on. There's something you're struggling with. Well, brother, hold on, let's deal with your stuff first. And then you can have a righteous way of approaching that. That's not my prescription. That's his. He says there's a right way to do it. So my first point before I go into the confession is that I want you to know that Yahweh desires a clean conduit. That's why he chose Aaron. That's why he chose his sons, and he made sure he purified them 7 days. He went through that whole process. That's why they had to cut the animals open and wash them. And I need you to be clean. I need you to be clean. If anybody listens to me right now and is serious about being clean, I need you to take serious stock of where you are and say, what is in my life that may not look like Yahweh that needs to come out? The scripture that always convicts me, I forget what it is when the psalmist says, search me, O God. When you invite God to search, he's already looking, but when you invite him to search me, oh God, and know my thoughts, know my intentions. Take out anything that's not like you. Can you pray that prayer? You might need to write that prayer down right now. You might need to write that scripture and pray that prayer. Are you bold enough to pray that prayer? Because you can't see it, so you used to asking Yahweh to come search you. Because I don't see it. And then you might have people start coming up to you. Don't be alarmed. Don't be bothered after you pray that prayer.
We better pray for strength.
Man, you might have kids. I mean, my daughters are always doing it to me. Inadvertently. They're not trying to. You might have all kinds of, and it might not come out pretty, I must say that, okay? I will say that because they're conduits. They may not have some issues themselves, but please listen to God's word. Don't say, well, I prayed to God, you be quiet, I'm listening for God. No, they're probably trying to tell you something. Guys, please don't listen to my words. Hear his voice to you right now. I'm probably not saying it perfectly the way he wants to, but I believe there's a word for someone in here, and someone that needs to hear this maybe even outside of here. Confession. What is it good for? Confession is something that I don't hear about often anymore. Maybe I'm not in the right circles. I might by myself, but I don't hear about confession a whole lot. Or do you? I don't hear about it a lot. Am I? Okay, it's just not me then?
I just got a good example a while ago in the sanctuary from my little Joy here. So.
Amen. Amen. Confession. Is that a biblical principle?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is that an expectation?
Yes.
Is it necessary?
Yes. Yes.
I tell you one thing, it downright scares me. I'm like, confess? Oh, no! I'm just being honest. But I love the fruit that it brings afterwards. I love the promise that it has. Can we look at confession for a second? Yes.
There's an old joke I just thought of. It says confession is good for the soul, but bad for the reputation.
Bad for reputation. But you know what's funny? You may be thinking that is because when people do confess, we think they're like heroes.
Yes.
We're like, wow, you shared. Because like you said, it's not like nobody ever, like there's nothing new, but you shared. I remember Kirk Franklin. Y'all know Kirk Franklin? Kirk Franklin got open about some impurity in his life with his wife. On television. He has a reputation. On television, I was like, wow, bro. And when you do that, you shed light on dark spots, and Satan has no more control. He's like, I can't do nothing now.
Exactly.
You put a light on it. But as long as I can keep it in the dark, I can have control of it because you're afraid, you're ashamed, and you're guilty. I can work in that. Well, he put some light on it. Let me spend a few minutes here, because I didn't want to go here, but I'm telling you, I was dragged. I'm being honest. He was dragged. I was like, okay, stop. I'm not going there. This is a whole lesson by itself, but I'm gonna go ahead and go here for a little bit, because I feel like we need to hear this, because I think he thinks it's a big deal, but maybe we don't. So did you know there's a confessing that you can do for the whole community? Do you confess for the community of believers? It's quiet, so I'm gonna say a lot of and Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat and confess over it what?
Iniquities of the people.
And all the transgression, all the sins. Now we are observing Sabbath, and we do as much as we can, right, without the temple. Because we try to honor Yahweh. Might we be able to do this too? Can we confess the sins of a group of believers? Is that still possible?
Yes.
Will Yahweh still honor that?
Yes.
What a heart. I think Moses did something like that when the people sinned with the calf, right? He says, man, I'm going on behalf of, wow, he says, forgive them. Forgive them. And forgive, sometimes we forgive us. But I want to mention to you, there's a couple of ways to confess that I hadn't thought about, that I haven't been doing. And confessing for a community is in there. So when he laid his hand on there, it wasn't just him. This was after his dealing with his own sins being confessed. But if they confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers in their treachery that they committed against me, and also in walking contrary to me, so that I walked contrary to them and brought them into the land of their enemies. If their uncircumcised heart is humbled and they make amends for their iniquity, then I will remember my covenant with Jacob, and remember my covenant with Isaac, and remember my covenant with Abraham, and remember the land. I love they put the land in there. That's a good lesson. But this comes up a lot, y'all. He says, confess the iniquities of their fathers and their forefathers. You hear that a lot. Like, when's the last time you confessing the sins and the iniquities of your fathers and fathers? Like, man, I want to confess right now some things that were said, done, and attitudes of my fathers and fathers. Does anybody do that anymore? Is that outdated? But this is very prevalent in the scriptures, where they're constantly doing it. And he made a promise. He says, if you do this, it might not be important to you, but it's important to him. That's why I feel like he put on my heart, like, I want you to share this. Okay. I want you to make a note after this time, sometime today, tonight, whenever. Think about how we can do that. I'm going to show an example with you at the end of this confession part for what that looks like from the scriptures. Yeah.
As I'm reading that slide before, it said, what is it good for? It reminds me of something Steve Berkson says all the time, the heart is the matter. So that when I saw that right there, that's what it made me think. It's good for the heart, the humbling of the heart, the circumcision of the heart.
Right.
That's what
it is good for the heart, man.
And it makes me think of that scripture, the heart is deceitful and even amongst all things.
That's right. And it's also good to have a right relationship with Yahweh.
Can you start over again? Say it again.
It's also profitable to have a right relationship with Yahweh.
Okay, good.
Confess your sins.
Confession is an integral part to having a right relationship.
Have an intimate relationship.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
Amen.
That's how you're born again. To
Mm.
believe it.
Right. But to have daily fellowship with Him.
I think too, the Jews are so good at, part of the Amidah prayers that they pray every day is to remember the deeds of my father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and we come into this Israel, okay, and we don't even think that way. We think, oh, my dad, my grandparents, my this, bad stuff, But we need to be confessing, I am a child of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, David. Yeshua. We are, because of the marriage of our fathers, the prayer says.
Yeah.
And when I pray that, I would say because of the marriage of my Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And what you're saying, what I hear you saying, Ms. Dottie, is that we need to see that we're a part of something much bigger than ourselves, that reach further back. Like, I'm in something huge.
Oh, yeah.
We really take a lot of stock and confidence in our cultures and our ethnic heritage, but I need to hear more about our forefathers in the faith. And like,
yes.
my dad, like,
Hallelujah.
You know, I'm trying to see how many black people in here. So,
I'm with you.
So-
I understand.
Wanna part? Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. If you go back to slavery, and there's a lot of
Baggage.
there's a lot of baggage, and there's a lot of people. If you say something against, like, man, the slaves died for that, so you should be having a certain attitude. If you say no, you're like, what do you? All they went through, and all. But what I'm thinking in my head, did you go further back?
Right. Exactly. Before that.
About who died and how people are trampling his blood, and about all the other forefathers. Like, we stopped there, and I'm just doing because I'm black. That's the culture I'm constantly. But I'm like, you better not talk about, Harriet Tubman and how she fought for. You better do this. I'm like, but do you know who he fought for? And what I'm supposed to be doing, because I have a heritage that's much bigger than the color of my skin.
Amen.
So, and I'm just going to put that out there so it's on record. We don't hear it talked about. But people get downright angry when you start talking about their ethnic heritage instead of their spiritual. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm passionate about the house of Yahweh and what He's done for me, and not just people. So, confess for the community. You see it also here. Now, on the 24th day of this month, the people of Israel were assembled and with fasting and sackcloth and with earth on their heads. And the Israelites separated themselves from all foreign gods and confessed their sins and iniquities of their fathers. They confess. I wonder what that was like. They confessing their sins and the iniquities of their fathers. I really want to encourage us to do this. I just wondered how much freer, how much Yahweh's trying to work through. But He says, I got to have you do this. And they knew that, and that's what they were doing. This is something I don't think they would come up with unless He was telling them. This is what I acknowledge. When Ezra prayed and made a confession, weeping and casting himself down before the house of God, a very great assembly of men and women and children gathered to him out of Israel, for the people wept bitterly. Again, the point is, the confession was common. Is there a need to confess the sins of your forefathers and community today? Do you have a need now? I think about my father. I think about my father. I think about my mom and and I think about some things, guys, and I say there's some things I need to be confessing.
Amen.
Maybe they didn't have the wherewithal to think about it, and I'm that person now to say I need to step in and I need to confess that for my children, and to break whatever curse or cycle, whatever spiritual things going on. I need to be that person.
Come on. Glory to
All right, I gotta say that.
Yeah.
All right. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Because of something that I'm battling against and dealing with as far as my daughter. And that's why I was laughing, because she heard me say this. And he's putting it together not only in my head but in my spirit. Like, he's on time. His timing is perfect.
Yes.
One of the things growing up in a Baptist church you hear a lot is standing in the gap, being an intercessor. So this is perfect for the period I'm in my walk with my daughter, as far as standing in the gap for some of these generational curses. So to hear you say that, I'm holding on, like, when you're done, and I'm gonna say it, and he's like, no, the time is now. Okay. So it's perfect, and then when you link it to the first slide, you know what I mean, like how it's coming together and forming, it's perfectly to like you always say, I'm trying to find the right words, to incorporate within your walk. Like, what do you leave here with? Well, this is perfect for something that I'm praying for, something that I'm battling against in spiritual warfare. So this is perfect to add to my walk, to use in my walk, to actually walk it out in the physical realm. Yeah, so
that's good, man. If it's like me, Jay, I'm hoping our eyes are starting to open up to the spiritual realm in a bigger way. Like, whoa, there's some things that's going on. Mm-hmm. If you just did these things, he's like, I'm trying to get to you, but there's some certain laws I put in place. I need you to release this stuff now.
And this is major, because I've thought about my confession, but who stopped to think of my father's confession and his father's confession? But some of those generational curses are dealing with those very things that have to be confessed in order to intercede. Yes. You know what I mean? In order to break that.
And something I didn't mention is when Aaron was praying, he said he had to deal with the bull. He had to pray for himself, right? But it said for himself and his household. Right. So if you are a parent, or you and how you need to be praying, especially if you're a man.
Man.
But any parent needs to be praying for that household. You know, I love getting up early and make sure I'm praying for my family. Put my hands on my kids, praying on my wife. And I'm like, because Satan, he's looking to try to take that out. But I'm like, I put that blessing over there. And a lot of you guys, I hear y'all doing it. But I just want to remind you that I'm gonna confess for you. Put that over you. Yeah.
Okay, so like when we confess, all right, there's times where I've confessed, you know, to Yahweh by myself. And usually when I talk, I usually talk out loud. If there ain't nobody listening or they're asleep or whatever. But there was confessions where I've done at Freedom Fellowship in San Angelo. That's a non-denominational church. And let's see, how can I say this? But like when I did the confession, it was a men's conquerors group, and there was a lot of people there, you know what I mean? And one of the reasons why I did confess, because I saw one of my brothers suffering what he confessed, so I was like, that was something I did not want to confess in front of anybody, but I came out with it. But when I left, I did feel healed. I felt like, wow, that was something I was taking to the grave with me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I haven't talked about it openly after that group.
Sure.
You know, it was just with those men, and that was a confidential group.
Yeah.
And, you know, it hasn't been spoken about. If I have spoken, it was just to Yahweh himself, and that's it, not to anybody else. To go back to that confession, like, I don't know, I feel like if I don't want to go back to that confession. I've already confessed that with him and brothers, you know, there. That's something that I don't know.
Yeah, if you confess,
uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go back.
Yeah,
to
listen.
that.
I think if you confess it, you confess it. Like I think the spirit here is that if there's something that needs to be confessed, like there's some things going on, and I just want to, you know. But it doesn't mean you got to have a long list of all the things you confess about and keep.
But I feel like sometimes I'm pressured to confess the things that's happened in the past couple of years of my life, which I will confess things that happened in the past couple of years of my life. There's some things that I've done that has been very horrible, you know what I mean? And I'm ashamed of it, of the things that I've done. But at the same time, I just feel like right now, at this time of my life, I mean, to be honest with y'all, just to let y'all know, I'm sure, I mean, y'all know my setbacks on where I was 3 months ago in that place for 3 months, you know what I mean? So I've had some setbacks, and I'm just now getting clear-headed on that, you know what I mean? But as far as, like, you know, I go through a lot just thinking, what am I supposed to be doing, Father? Like, I hear things from people where I go, from San Angelo, everywhere I go, I just hear things, and I'm like, I feel like one day, this is something that was always said, like, everything, like, this is one thing that's been sticking with me for the past couple of years. Everything will be brought to light, Michael. I'm like, but I've been hearing that for like 2 or 3 years, and I'm like, I hear this testimony thing. And my brother Danny sent me, Mickey's brother, Mickey and Danny McCray, you know, the ones who, Jeremy, and when he sent this to me, it was like, they sent me these scriptures, and it's like, they're hitting me, like, it's affecting me, and it's making me open up and realize it. Like right now, with, you know, with the confession and everything, not in a bad way, in a good way, but I feel like I'm lost, like I don't know what to do, Father. I hear you, but I don't know what move to make. Like, there's a part of me wants to stand up and be like, you know what, I'm going to stand up and confess everything I've done in the past 3 years, but I feel it's not time right.
Right. What I would encourage you, and I'm glad you're bringing this up.
I was going to talk with you today. I asked you,
well, that was kind of where I was going.
Show me who to go to when I go to Mount Moriah this Shabbat. And get with who I need to talk to.
Sure, and that's kind of what I was saying, so I'm glad you brought this up. And I'll say this kind of quick, but you want to be, just because you hear the command to confess doesn't mean you do it anywhere in any way.
Right, exactly.
Man, because I've seen some stuff not go well. I'm going to say, there's a wrong way to do it. And I don't even want to get into details, it went so bad. So I was like, nah, there's a wrong way to do it. So what I would do is have a trusted person, right, who you can trust spiritually, that you know you can go to. I mean, there's times for more of a small public confession, but don't feel like I just need to everything with everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you can hurt people. If you know what I'm saying, you don't know who's there. You want to be like, I want to make sure this person's strong. They can help me. So yeah, let's talk, and we can get into what we need to. There's obviously time for personal confession. When he realizes guilt, any of these, he confesses his sin. He shall bring it to Yahweh as his compensation for that sin that he has committed, a female from the flock, a lamb or a goat for a sin offering. So again, there's this thing about confessing. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, when a man or woman commits any of these sins the people commit by breaking faith with Yahweh, and that person realizes his guilt, he shall confess his sin that he has committed." Now, I keep saying it because my tendency, maybe some of y'all tendency is, well, I want to move on. I want to repent. I want to do. But there's a point where he's like, I want you to, I want you to talk. I want you to confess this. Now, that may be one or both, talking to me or getting open with somebody you can trust, because it's good accountability when you find a trusted friend and you talk with them. It really it gets it out there, man. But don't just brush over this stuff, guys, because I think this is a big missed part. That's all in the scriptures about confession. Do you have sin that needs to be confessed? And that silence for is in purpose. I want you to think. You don't have to tell me. But I really want you guys to be clean conduits. I want you to live your best, your greatest life. And there's probably a lot of times, sometimes I've seen, there's this teacher at school, actually there's a number of teachers that come up to me for spiritual guidance and advice. And they don't like what I have to say. They tell me about situations, about somebody else, but all I do is spend time on them and how they need to follow the scripture. Well, what did you do? You know what I'm saying? And I have to say, well, how can you? And sometimes we can get mad at God because God's not doing what He's supposed to do. I'm serious. Like I've gotten messages. I've heard the words. Like, I did this. I fasted. I read my Bible. I prayed, as if it was some kind of checklist. Like, He don't owe you nothing. What are you talking about? Like I did. He's not a genie. Right. I rubbed you the right way. He don't work that way. So we kind of approach it that way. But do you have sins that need to be confessed? If you know there's something that came to your mind right now, or you meditate on that, you guys deal with that stuff, guys, before you start asking that. And we can't be complaining that I'm trying to pray for this situation and I keep trying to bless this and why you just walking in sin. You know that you're wrong. I ain't saying stuff that you don't know, some stuff you don't know. Because last time he says when he realizes his guilt, some stuff you don't realize. But there's some things when you hear that question comes up, please confess that. Please confess that. And I say this, and I've learned this, guys. Why is this so important to me? Because when you break free, I break free. There's some stuff that I need from you. There's some stuff that I need from you. And until you get to your best, I can't get it. When you're at your best, I get blessed. When I'm at my best, when we each are at our best, we all get blessed. But when you're holding back aching, I'm finna get there in a second. The whole community is affected. People dying because of your sin. Because God don't look at individual community. He look at communities, which is what we gotten away from, especially in the American culture. Everybody's pull yourself on by your own bootstrap. Hey, that's you. You did your own way. Cover your own self. But He looks at whole communities. He says, how are my people doing? My people are suffering because there's lack of this and there's my people. He looks at whole community, so we need to pray for each other. We need to ask for confession for each other. And you need to set yourself free so we all can be blessed, man. Because I always think about the 33 men who died because Achan hid some stuff in his tent. Like, my brother died because of you, man. My uncle died because you want to be putting some stuff under your sin. And you think it's just your stuff in your little corner in your dark space in your head, and we dying over here and being sick because God sees a community. He says there's sin in your camp. Yes. And I can't bless this camp because you sitting in your thing. You think you showing up and you showing out and you coming in and out, it's not gonna make a big difference because I see my people and their sin that needs to be dealt with in here. If we gotta draw lots, we will.
Come on, already.
That'd be scary. No, we're not gonna do that. Because I get the shortest one. I'm like, hold on, no. But I hope you get the point, guys. We gotta take it to the limit. Confess. What is it in Hebrew? See that? Just take it away now.
Reading.
Confess. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the Hebrew because I've been on this word a long time, so I gotta see what it is in Hebrew. What does confess mean in Hebrew? That's a tough one. All right, so the from the passages I've been taking, you can get two different words. They're pretty close together, or you can tell me otherwise. The one we took right here from Leviticus 16, confess is this characters here. Whatever those characters are, that's what it is. Yada. I did know how to say it, but I was trying to let y'all say it first. Yada. Yada. I did. Yada. What does that mean?
Yada, that root of that is to know. Like you know what you need to confess.
Yada, yada, yada.
To know.
Yada. If you want to look it up, it's 30:34 in the Hebrew. To shoot, to cast down, give thanks, praise, laud, to confess. How in the world confess end up in the same genre as praise? To give thanks, to confess sin, to give thanks. Are they interchangeable? I'm just gonna praise Yahweh. I mean confess sin. Like what is it the same thing? How do they end up in the same? Crazy. There's another word that's kind of close to it.
When you confess Him, you can't help but give thanks.
Glory.
When you get your eyes on Him and you confess, that's my Father, not the guy that you.
I'm gonna keep my mouth closed because if I start talking, I got something later I'm gonna get to. But that's crazy. Look at that. Isn't that like give thanks, confess sin? Right here, same thing. Tada. Y'all know that one. That's a more right. Tada. That's more of a common here. Tada. Is that right? Is that okay? So like you giving thanks. We know that's thanks, but did you know that it's also a public admission of something you did wrong? I just copied and pasted it. I didn't make it up.
But that is the common word. Torah is the common word for thank you.
It is. I know. That's what started me. I was like, that's a common word for thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the same word, it's used in Ezra as somebody saying confess your sin.
Amen.
You want to give thanks to Yahweh?
Hello, somebody call for a tow for Hello, somebody call for a tow.
But,
All right, we talked about
it's
this.
the same thing with our kids. They need to confess what they've done, to a parent who loves them, and then they can be thankful afterwards when it's all over.
Yeah. I love it. Who would have thought those two together? But you're right. You started like, okay, I can see it. What's going on, guys? We talked about this. Anybody remember? Usually good at guessing these pictures, but what's going on here?
Oh, that's the one that sold the property. And
okay, yeah.
He's guilty. Yeah, you got the point right. Yeah, it's you.
For a minute,
He didn't want to say nothing to nobody. I'm like, okay, give me a minute. Give me a minute to catch up my daughter and maybe Joy. So this guy was holding on. He stole some stuff he shouldn't have stole. You with me? He stole some stuff he shouldn't have stole. He was hiding it. They was trying to fight a battle and they kept losing. They're like, we should be an easy battle. We lost 33 men in this battle. What's going on? God said there's some sin in your camp. And they said, guys, there's some sin in the camp. What's going on? Crickets. Oh, okay. Let's do a lot. We're gonna figure out who it is. They call them tribe by tribe, family by family, and it came down to this guy. He passed confession. It's not confession that we know now. Exactly. So you can't. Joshua, look at what he says. This is what tripped me out. Then Joshua said to Achan, my son, give glory to Yahweh, God of Israel, and give Torah. Woo! I looked that up, y'all. That was like calling somebody to the highest oath and saying, give praise to God. Give glory to God. What did you do? You don't lie to that point. It's like in our days, like putting your hand on the Bible saying, I swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. When somebody says give glory to God, what did you do? He was calling them out right here. But look at the word he used, give praise to God right now. Why did he just say get open with your sin? Same thing. Give praise to God. See, God gonna get his praise either way.
Do not hide.
And tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me. And Achan answered Joshua, truly I have sinned. See, now he begins his praise. I forgive you my Torah. Against Yahweh, God of Israel, and this is what I did. He goes on to tell him what he did. Here's the stuff it didn't work out well for him. Yeah.
Add to it, what Achan was doing, he still had free will. He could confess, or he could continue to hide. And so, God was saying, it'd be better for you if you go ahead and confess.
Yeah. I wonder how different
the guilt
Mr.
will
Bruce,
go.
I wonder how different it would have been, right? If he would have just, right when he said that, look, you know what?
Somebody else did that.
But
Somebody else put that in my
you let us go through all this. It probably took all day to get through every single. Okay, now you want to say something.
How about that guy? All these things being chosen, and out of 603,000, I got the short straw. Somebody really knows what I did.
Man. All right, so I want to close this up by showing us a confession, and I really need us to take notes in your heart, on your paper somewhere, because there needs to be some confessing done. Judging on how quiet it was when I've asked questions about confession, there's probably needs to be some confessing done. And it may not be your sin that you think of immediately. It may be forefathers. It may be some people in your household. It may be some people in our community that you I don't even know, but I want to start confessing the sins in this camp, in our camp. Okay, so please make a note before I move on, and you just, okay, that was a good lesson. I felt good, but I don't know what to do. Leave with this point. We need to start confessing. Okay, let me leave you with I thought it was such a beautiful example of confession. This is Daniel, and I'm sorry, it's a lot of scriptures here, but I was trying to say I got to take that up now, but all of it was too good, so I put it all in here, y'all. So if you want to turn in your Bible, you can, or you can just read along up here. Jeremy, here's your chance. Here, can you push that bottom one so they can follow along with you?
Daniel chapter 9, verses 3 through 19.
I'm going to keep stopping you a couple of times, so all right.
Yes, sir. Then I turned my face to Yahweh, God, seeking him by prayer and pleas for mercy with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. I prayed to Yahweh my God and made confession, Yada, saying, O Lord, the great and awesome God, who keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments.
Pause right there. I love when you started praise. I must first start out with acknowledging who you are. You're awesome. You're amazing. You're great. Now we're going to get to my stuff. Go ahead.
Verse 5. We have sinned and done wrong and acted wickedly and rebelled, turning aside from your commandments and rules.
Okay, so what does a confession look like? You can just get open. What happened? We sinned. We did some things, whatever. Verse 6.
We have not listened to your servants, the prophets, who spoke in your name, to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land.
When you confess, be as specific as you can. I like he didn't say, we sinned against you, forgive us. Amen. He says, no, you know what we did? We didn't listen. That's a specific thing. We didn't listen to your servants and prophets. They were speaking your name. So how specific can you get? Where it's just like, man, I don't even want to, give me specifics. Get it out there. If I forgive me, I messed this up. Right?
Verse 7. To you, O Lord, belongs righteousness, but to us open shame. As at this day, to the men of Judah, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and to all Israel, to those who are near and to those who are far away, in all the lands to which you have driven them, because of the treachery that they have committed against you. To us, O Lord, belongs open shame, to our kings, to our princes, and to our fathers, because we have sinned against you.
We have sinned.
To Yahweh our God belong mercy and forgiveness, for we have rebelled against him, and have not obeyed the voice of Yahweh our God by walking in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. All Israel has transgressed your law, and turned aside, refusing to obey your voice. And the curse and oath that are written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, has been poured out upon us, because we have sinned against him. He has confirmed his words, which he spoke against us and against our rulers who ruled us, by bringing upon us a great calamity. For under the whole heaven there has not been done anything like what has been done against Jerusalem. And it is written in the law of Moses, all this calamity has come upon us. Yet we have not entreated the favor of Yahweh our God, turning from our iniquities and gaining insight by your truth.
At every point, he's told Yahweh how great you are, and it's all us. Your word was perfect. Your mercy is great. It was me. You've been beautiful. I mean, this whole time you've been. I don't talk like that, but I'm gonna adopt that kind of language from now on. Where I'm constantly like, no, if I the one, I didn't listen. You said in your word, if all I had to do was trust you, but I kept doing what I wanted to do, and you still were patient. You have no reason to forgive me, but yet I'm gonna speak His words. I love how He keeps reminding. You're awesome. It's where we were wrong. So I just want to leave us with an example. We remember. This was so cool. While I was speaking and praying, confessing my sin, and the sin of my people, again, Daniel here doing it, and presenting my plea before Yahweh, my God, for the holy hill of my God. While I was speaking in prayer, the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at first, came to me in swift flight at the time of the evening sacrifice. He made me understand, speaking with me, saying, "O Daniel, I have now come out to give you insight and understanding. At the beginning of your pleas for mercy is a word went out." I love that's a word went out when you start praying. Amen. When you start confessing like that, Gabriel stood up. Be like, okay, hold on. Somebody confessing. Somebody trying to. He says, I had to get up. It's a word went out. You get me going, girl. I'm sorry. No, that's right. At the beginning of your pleas for mercy, a word went out, and I have come to tell it to you, for you are greatly loved. Therefore, consider the word and understand the vision. Then he said to me, "Fear not, Daniel. Fear not." Put your name there. Fear not. Fear not. For from the first day that you set your heart to understand and humbled yourself before your God, there it is again, that humbling, right? Your words have been heard, and I have come because your word. No wonder confession is so powerful. Because when you get those words out there, the heavens start moving. Stuff start like, okay, hold on. He's saying something. There's words that's coming out. God, you're awesome. It's not just, and I'm saying this because sometimes in my heart, I'm like, I feel better, or I'm going to move on. I feel bad. I feel guilty. He said, no, I need you to get that out. You know what? You're awesome. And when you started speaking, your words went out and something came back from me. I'm going to test it. I love that. We already know in the New Testament where we see this coming up. You guys mentioned it. They were being baptized, confessing their sins. Therefore, James, confess your sins. Pray for one another so that you may be healed. Healing comes. I always wanted to deny that. I was like, man, it can't be true. He's like, no, healing comes through confession. Healing comes through, I'm still hurting physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. I'm still hurting. He said healing comes through your confession. I wonder how many people are going to be free because they start confessing some stuff.
But that's why I was going to ask you about that one, the James one. When it says confess your sins to one another, though. Mm-hmm. So that's the only way you can be healed is confessing your sins to somebody of what you've done?
No, it doesn't say that. Mm-hmm. Huh? It don't say that.
No,
Matter of fact, one thing that you see, and I had this question too, is as you go through here, it talks about confessing, but it didn't say, and that's why I'm glad. You see the Catholic set up because of that. I got to go talk to somebody. I got to go talk to somebody like this, a priest. But
as long as I'm confessing to Yahweh.
Well, 1 John says that, right? 1 John says if you confess your sins, He is faithful and just, and He forgive your iniquity. And it's talking about this you can't. He's not going to confine your freedom through. I had to talk to somebody. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be encouraged to, share with somebody, because he's saying it right here. Confess your sins to each other so that you can have healing. So I don't know what percentage or how you want to do that, but I would try to make every effort you can. Like, hey, I want to try to get over with somebody, but don't feel like you bound up. Like I gotta go, because if I don't do it,
I get like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That passage in James, if you look at the context, it's talking about someone who's ill, someone who's sick, and they become
their deathbed.
And it says to go to the elders before that.
And that's important because I'm glad you said that. It says if is any of you sick, he should go to the elders and pray. And because sometimes isn't it true that sins can cause you these ailments?
Yes, they do.
And you can be free from some of our ailments through confessing. Like there's some things, and we saw that in the scriptures, that some people, hey, like good, don't sin it no more, because if you keep sinning like that, you might end up back here. So some of our ailments can come from that. How sobering. Not all of them. I want to make sure I say that, because some people like, are you trying to say that I'm just no, I'm not trying to say that. But the Bible is clear that sin can cause physical ailments as well. Whew, I got out of confession. All right, y'all get it, right? Because that stuff's so deep, and if I don't hear a lot about it. I search messages and YouTube. I listen to a lot of. I don't hear a lot about confession at all, and I think there's something to be said. No pun intended here about confession. All right, I want to get to my third point, and this is like a one-slider. Because I was like, I'm forcing myself not to go too far because this is so good too. You can get everything dirty without getting anything clean. How many know that? You can get everything dirty without nothing clean. If you have kids, you can understand. You can get everything dirty without getting nothing clean. Everything can get dirty, but you can't get anything clean. Nothing clean without something getting what? Dirty. Something got to get dirty. Think of a way, is that possible? Can I get something clean without something else getting dirty? Something else gonna get dirty. Right. It's the only way around it. And we don't want to think about it, but something else gonna get dirty. When you start dusting, I never understood it. It's going somewhere. Like we don't want to think about it. It's just clean. He just went away. No, it's in the air. It's on that little thing. So
it's all good. It's job security for me.
Yeah. You just keep on doing that. I'm doing it for Ernest. Just kidding. I do the crime, you do the time. All right, okay, let me just read it. And Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of the live goat and confess over all the iniquities of the people and all their transgressions, all their sins, and he shall put them on the head of the goat and send them away into the wilderness by the hand of the man who is in readiness. The goat shall bear all the iniquities on itself to a remote area, and he shall lead the goat to go free in the wilderness. So Olivia, what they did is they put their hands on the goat, they confessed all their sins, and then they let the goat go in the wilderness by himself. He was over there all by himself in the wilderness. Imagine how this is something that I'm trying to get in his mind, y'all. So why in the world, of all the ways you could have dealt with sin, was this one of them? You had the priest come and put the sins, you confessing the sins of the people, audibly, everybody's hearing, I'm guessing, and there's just all this stuff here. You take the goat and you put them out there. What was that all about?
Kind of reminds me of that scripture, remove your sins as far as the east is from the west. So how he lets the goat go.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good, man. I like that. I didn't think about that. But you have a visual of what's going on with I'm putting it here, and we're going to take it all the way out there. How free would you feel? Like, you know how they do these ceremonies where you put something on the paper, you burn it? Yeah! Yes, gone! And it's just like a piece of paper you burn. But it's symbolic of something so much more. Yeah. And Yahweh plays that way too. He says, put it on the, pray, let's send it all the way out here. Y'all see that goat? There you go. You don't see it no more, do you?
Yeah,
it's out there. It's way out there.
Yeah. That's what it's making me think of when he says, I will remember your sins no more. But once it's out of sight, you know what I mean? It's like, after a while, you forget about it. But then you look at the contrast of that, of how many times he does tell us to remember things in Scripture, you know what I mean? So that it's always before you. It's as far as it's from your lips.
Yeah.
So you always remember, but when it comes to your sins,
but it's not there.
You see what I'm saying?
That's the point. Yeah.
That's powerful.
That's good, man.
And Brandon, I think too, we forget that he says, I remember it no more.
Absolutely.
That when you confess it, it's gone. It's as if
It
I never sinned. Atonement at one with God. As if I were pure and clean and never did anything wrong.
Yeah.
As if I was raised in a
justified. That's what they say. Justified. Just as if I never.
I mean, what we don't get is Satan is the accuser of the brother. And we don't get that.
Yeah. And this is what these times are good for, to remind. So as all we like sheep have gone astray, we have turned everyone to his own way, and Yahweh has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Almost word for word, it looks like with the goat. All their iniquities on itself, laid on him all the iniquity. Just put them all right there on him.
Clayton, can I say a real quick thing about Hebrew? Iniquity is different than sin.
Okay.
Okay. Iniquity is avo. Okay, so I always say Avon calling, I don't want any. Okay. Because that's what you get for your heritage.
Okay.
That's what you get for your fathers and the sins.
It's generational sin.
Yeah. Generational sin.
Okay.
That's what iniquity is.
Oh, okay.
It's from the generations that we were born into.
Thank you for that. So those would be good to confess, like forefathers for praying, like be using that. Yeah. They're using that evolve word.
Iniquity, evolve.
Okay. What if you can see the consequence of your sin? What if you can see the consequence of your sin? This is kind of painful for me because everything in me and probably in you avoids pain. Like, that's our lives. We build our lives for comfort. We say, I want to make this much money, live here, gated community, whatever, because I'm trying to avoid pain. So what I'm about to do is invite some pain. When I ask the question, what if you can see the consequence of your sin? Guys, it's one thing when you sin and you endure the punishment for it. It's another thing to watch somebody else endure it for your sin. The thought I have in my mind right now is that of David after Bathsheba. And they had a baby. That baby, see, God didn't come and talk to him while she was conceived. He didn't come talk to her 3 months in. He waited till the baby was born. He said, I got to talk to you about something. Yeah. And he let the baby stay alive. And the baby was in pain. The baby suffered. And I can imagine every time that baby screeched through the night, he knew that somehow what he did was connected with what was going on with this baby. You talking about broken. He says, you still don't get it yet. Right. See, you try to sweep it under the rug and just move on, and you thought, okay, it's 9 months. He said, you still don't get it. How many nights have to go by when you watch this baby, you sitting at that side, you hurting. This baby didn't do nothing, but your sin is on this child. Your consequences of what you did is on this child. It's harder to watch my child suffer because of what I did. I give it to me. But he put it on that child. That child had to suffer because of some decisions you made. What if you could see the consequences of your sin? What if you can feel it? Now, we live in the reality that he has cast our sins, and we do everything we can to make sure we stay in it because I don't want to even think about it. But when we still go into that, it's as if you picking up that hammer and going, boom, one more again. Right. Oh, sorry, I went to hood. One more time. Yeah.
There was this thing that I saw that really touched me that brings this more into contrast. And it said, sin wouldn't be so tempting if the wages were paid immediately. That's tough. That's tough. It puts it in a perspective, you know what I mean? Because exactly what he said. We
try to put it on credit. Let's just go on the credit.
He understands, or he's forgiven me, but if we had to pay those wages immediately as soon as we sin, we think more than twice. You know?
And I want to take us back here to the cross for a minute, y'all, because we get so far removed sometimes because we've been in the faith a long time. And we felt the freedom, and we talk about the justification, we talk about the freedom, but sometimes we start to go and vacillate, unlike we did in the first days after that moment when we was like, man, I get it. I remember being in Bible studies when they started showing, like, oh my God, how can I looked at the world different. It was like coming out of a movie theater, like, oh my gosh, this is, when you saw the Passion, when many of y'all saw the Passion, like, oh my gosh, it was right there in your face. I'm going to take just a second and reintroduce that. Guys, it's real. Somebody had to deal with that. I'm sorry, but something got to get dirty because of what we did. Something got to get dirty because of what we're doing. And if you just want to keep scraping on it, he said, you cannot keep trampling on me like this. You can't keep trampling on me like this. So I'm going to bring that before us. And it's hard because if you ever had somebody just offer you something that was way more than you expected, and it was like, "Ooh, this is too good," and you just said, "Nah, I can't accept that." Like if somebody right now would like pull out $100 bill and say, "Look, I just feel like I want to give this to you. I don't got a lot of money, but I'm gonna give you $100 right now. It's a few dollars I got." What's your response?
Glory to God.
There you go.
Amen. Amen. Since I'm talking about amen.
Not the right answer.
No. That's your answer. Because I've learned to do that too. I'm like, because I'm sitting there praying for a blessing and somebody try to bless me. I'm like, no, thank you. Yeah, I know. Yep. Like, because we started thinking to ourselves, well, but that's a lot you asking for, because I mean, you ain't got that much. You sure? Are you sure? We started doing this whole thing like, look, why you don't want to take it? Because if you take it, you're in debt to that person. You're like, man, you ain't gonna be able to forget about it. You're gonna be like, I took 100, and you can never pay it back either. It's not like 100 for 100, because you got me in such a good point that $100 ain't gonna do it no more. Right. I gotta give you more. Like you give me, and some of us are afraid of getting into that debt. You know, it says the only debt we should have is a continuing debt to love. And when I get into debt with you, it's like, oh man. And I'm gonna ask us to put that pride down for a minute and say, you're gonna have to get in debt and say, no, he did some stuff. He did. Hold on a second. He did some stuff for us that's so good. He did some stuff for us that's so good, and you're gonna have to embrace that and say, no. There was a time that I was upset watching this. When I was watching The Passion, I couldn't. I was like, man, why? I ain't asked you to do that. And because you did it, I'm bound now. Are you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like you did all that. I want to turn my back and be like, okay, whatever. But you did that. Now I gotta do something. And I'm mad because now I gotta do something. I gotta love you. How can I not? Why? You should have asked me first. He says, I did it first. But now we're in debt. And now I have to do something. And guys, you are in debt. You owe him. That's why Paul says, I'm obligated. I'm obligated. You don't have no choice to do anything else. Did you remember what you were going to say? Okay. Yes. No, I'm kidding. That wasn't the purpose.
So you're fine.
A certain moneylender had two debtors, Olivia. One owed 500, the other 50. When they could not pay, he counted the debt of both. Now, which of them will love him more? Simon asked. The one, I suppose, for whom he counted the larger debt. And he said to him, you have judged rightly. When you realize that you have a large debt, man, you're going to be... Find me a disciple of Jesus. Find me a believer who's sold out. And I'll show you somebody who had a big debt counseled. Huge debt. They're like, you don't understand. I don't care, but you don't understand what I got counseled. You see what I'm saying, Michael? You're like, you be talking about stuff, you're like, bro, man, I don't care what. Only one came back from the 10 that was healed, from, I think it was 11. Like, you don't understand what he's did for me. So when you start to understand, it's a whole different game. So I want to just put a tag and go back to the cross here, guys. This is something, don't sweep under the rug and be like, okay, yeah, he died for me. No, that stuff hurt. Somebody had to take that pain for you. So to be walking in here like you just like, oh, I'm free. I can do it now. You obligated now. You owe me everything you got. Last point. Thank you for hanging in there, guys. I know it was a lot. I didn't plan on doing all this, but I had to get in here. Don't copy Canaan. Don't copy Canaan. Don't copy Canaan. Whatever you do, don't copy Canaan. Because if you copy Canaan, I can't use you. So you're still going to be just like the other people. Don't copy Canaan. Don't copy Egypt. You shall not do as they did in Egypt, where you lived. And you shall not do as they do in the land of Canaan, which I'm bringing you. You shall not walk in their statutes. Don't do what you did in the past, and don't do what you're doing where I'm going to take you. Don't do what they're doing. So keep my charge, never practice any of these abominable customs. These customs are abominable to me. They're acceptable to the community they're in. They're really acceptable. Matter of fact, they're popular and it's great and it's trending and it's wonderful. But to me, they're abominable customs. I can't stand them. I need you to not copy those, please. Disgusting. He says, I need us to brainwash ourselves. Because we live in a culture that if you don't brainwash yourself constantly with His Word, and I'm afraid because some of my brothers and sisters are not in His Word like we used to need to. And if you're not in His Word, you're not being brainwashed, and you're starting to think some things that were bad were now okay.
Right, absolutely.
And then you start thinking that things that are bad were, that's a good idea. It's tolerant, well, that shows, but it's. So I'm going to ask this question, and I'm going to try to close up here. If this commandment were updated to reflect the practices and customs of today, what issues might Yahweh address?
Assimilation with the nations.
So if he said, here's a 2019, I got a new version that I'm coming out with, Yahweh said, I want you to read this. I've been watching your culture, and here's what I'm going to add to it. Don't say it yet. Just take a note of it, because I'm going to show you some other scriptures that talk about this, and I'm going to ask you, what would it sound like? So just hold that thought for me. Write it down. Don't forget it. So I'm going to show you how important it is to Yahweh. Watch. Take care that you be not ensnared to follow them. You shall not worship Yahweh your God in that way. Amen. Everything that I command you, you shall be careful to do. You shall not add to it or take from it. How important is it? He says, don't do it. Jeremiah, hear the word that Yahweh speaks to your house of Israel. Thus says Yahweh, learn not the way of the nations. Don't learn that way. Nor be dismayed at the signs of the heavens, because the nations are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vanity. These customs are vanity. I don't like these ways. Don't learn the ways. Don't have nothing to do with these ways. I think you're starting to get the point. And you shall not walk in the customs of the nations that I'm driving out before you, for they did all these things, and therefore I detested them. What does detest mean?
Hated it.
I hated it. I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
When my angel goes before you and brings you to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Canaanites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and blot them out, you shall not bow down to their gods nor serve them, nor do as they do, but you shall utterly overthrow them and break their pillars in pieces. He not only says don't do what they do, he says completely destroy that stuff. I don't even want nothing that looks. I don't want it to look like. No, don't say I can repurpose that.
Rebrand.
That was a lot of. That was some good work they put in there. I could just kind of, if you can move that around a little bit, try doing that in a relationship. Where you take something from an old relationship and say, we can still use this.
Not assimilate.
Try to do that with your wife or husband. Like, you know what my old husband used to have? We can still. Nah, you better burn that. I don't even want. It was 1,000. I don't care how you burn. I don't want it. That's how Yahweh is, sir.
And just like that thing about the clean and dirty clean, you can take something that's holy and righteous, Yahweh, and turn to abomination. You can't take something that's abomination and make it holy and righteous.
That's right. I heard somebody say, man, I think it's for saying it that way. I heard somebody say that who had a conviction about songs. And you can take this where you want to, but many years ago I heard she had a conviction about songs. She said, don't take the worldly songs and try to make them praise Yahweh. Right. Amen. Okay, y'all feeling that too? I was like, I don't know if Yahweh's feeling the tune. He's like, that's not, don't repurpose that. Just destroy it. It was meant for some other girl, but then, no, we're not going to do that. So, don't do that.
Origins matter.
Yes, origins do matter. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in the distress and to keep oneself unstained from the world. That's the last scripture I'm going to share. And here's how God sees pure religion to him. He says, I want you to keep yourself unstained from the world. And it's hard, y'all. It's hard, y'all. Okay, let's not act like it's easy when we come here. It's hard. Man, it's hard. If you leave this building at any point, it's hard. When you go to work, when you go to the store, it's hard. Trying to be unstained. And that's why we need these times of communities and reminders and say, wake up. We got to confess some stuff. Wake up. We got a purpose. Now, give me that update for me, please. If he was talking to us about customs of our nations, what things might he include? Now, they talked about idols and bowing down to gods. What might things he says, don't do that like these other nations. I need to hear that. I need to record that. I need for my young people, my older people, my black, white people, Hispanic people, wherever you're from, I need to hear that so we'll know what to watch out for. What kind of things would he say and update? Yeah.
Don't badmouth our president. Pray for him.
Don't do like the rest of the nations. Don't badmouth your leaders. Pray for them. I love that. Yes.
I mean, to me, it all comes into what he told them as he was preparing them, and they were going through it. Assimilation. Do not mix. Period. In everything. Do not mix. You do it my way, and don't mix their ways with it, because it's going to cause a cluster of things that you don't even know what you're getting yourself into. You know, an act of worship. You know what I mean? Just fitting in when I made you to stand out and be set apart, like in everything. When you assimilate, when you mix, you get into a realm into which is a very, we'll say, not solid. Not, you know what I mean?
No mixing.
Stand on the solid rock, don't stand on the sand.
I like that. So in order to do that, Jay, we got to be going back to the Word. I'm going to say this again, because no matter how many years I've preached, reading the Word, going back to the Word, we still have a lot of us who are not in that Word like you know you should be. Not like I'm telling you to be. Like if I asked you, Yahweh looked at you, and you know we're performing for the audience of one, right?
Literally.
There's only one person who we really trying to please, not me and you. There's one audience that we're going to stand before one day, and even now, there's one audience. And he's like, you know what's in your spirit. I need us to get back to the Word and stand on that. Yes, ma'am.
His Word says, follow me, period. Don't add to it, don't take away from it.
Good point.
So what he said to Moses, don't add to it, don't take away from it in 2019. Period.
Right. Same thing. I love it. Thank you.
Period.
Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna summarize with these pictures up here. So, you know, we got to make sure. Anybody remember what the point was?
Clean.
Consecrated.
Yes. Yeah, you got to be a clean conduit first when you try to bless anybody else. And you trying to figure out what's going on. Are you clean? Are there things that you need to deal with? This one may be tough. Confession, good. And this is going back to
Get the point.
dirty.
Yeah.
So something got to get dirty. Let's not forget, guys. This is not something we don't want to trample on here on the Son of God, as Hebrews talks about. And do not copy. Watch what you copy. And I'm going to put my 2 cents in here with copying too, because I always have to say this. Watch the media. Whoever controls the media controls the mind.
Absolutely.
Watch your media. Watch your media. Watch your media. Young people, watch your media. Man, and I'm one who's willing into technology, internet, and I have to fight. My goodness. Because they've built all the algorithms for you. I had to delete YouTube after y'all passed, so my kids can't use them, because I learned how they build the algorithm. They pick whatever's most sensational. Sensational means it gives you the biggest feeling. Not the most truth. Not the most wholesome. Whatever gives you the most reaction. And I'm like, we can't do this. And there's some stuff on, man, come on.
Yes, sir.
When you click on one thing, we got some suggestions that you might like too. And I'm not strong enough. I'm like, I'm just gonna put myself on the time limit. Like, no, I have to fight. Like, no, that's not gonna lead me down the right place. I see what you're trying to do here, and I have to call out the devil like that. I'm like, I see what you're trying to do. That's not gonna work here. And you know, you start going down some questionable, like, well, it's not that, bro. Don't go there, sister. Don't go there. Let's watch our mouths. That's another thing. We can get into talking, the gossip, you know, let's take care of each other. Like you said, with the president, with leaders, let's not have this spirit. So I think you would mention that the media is one of the biggest things for me. I think would come up in 2019. Some of the social platforms that we're on, because all the social platforms that I'm getting on is like blasting it out there. There's no shame. It's like completely lewd. Like we don't like what? Ain't nobody see this. And it scares me. I got you. Don't forget. And it scares me for my children.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going into this like this. They going into this like this.
Not realizing the
Right. And I'm like, no, don't go. What are you doing? You know. So we have to protect them from that. Yes, ma'am.
What we as believers, a lot of believers have forgotten. I'll put it that way. Have forgotten is that Satan is the prince of the air, and that he uses the airwaves.
Absolutely.
We've forgotten that, and so we think okay, well, I can go here, or I can listen to this, or I can, but we forget that he is a worthy adversary. And that's his number one tool, is the airways. So we have to be mindful on a daily basis, literally on a daily basis, to stay focused.
Amen. And let's control the airways. I'm putting this on the airways so people can have access to it. Put some stuff on the airways. Take over, like that Facebook post. You put them in there. Put that stuff in the air. We can take it over. We're having a different spirit. Give some channels that people can go to. That's some positive. You know, the stuff you sending out, and I'm gonna put some positive stuff out there. All right, I'm gonna close in prayer and a blessing, if you don't mind. Thank you guys so much. Sorry, I don't know what the time was and all that stuff, but thanks for letting me share that and your attentiveness.